We tend to walk on this life. We tend to live in this life based on the habits that we have gained throughout our lives. Some habits are really doesn't serve us anymore. Some habits we learned during our childhood, and now that we are adult, it doesn't serve us anymore. We need to change those habits. And there are ways to change your habits and cultivate new habits. Habits that makes you successful. Habits that make you live life with happiness, joy, and love. So, how do you change your habits? How do you want to cultivate good habits? There are ways. There are ways, and there is a technique to change your habit by tricking your mind or brain to do the new habits. And once you do it over and over again, it becomes your new habit.
Do you think it's hard for people to actually form or break habits?
Oh, yeah, big time. Habits are ingrained in us. We do it. Yeah, we do. That's why they say habits is from habitual,
Habitual,
or
yes.
subconsciously you do it without realizing. And sometimes we can do bad habits without us realizing, unless somebody tells us, close a friend or father or a mother
Absolutely.
or a spouse.
Or a spouse, absolutely. So,
Or a daughter.
oh, yeah. I think the people who are closest to you
Yeah.
when they see these things. And as you mentioned, there is good habits, there are bad habits.
Right.
I think what people don't understand sometimes is part of the bad habits, it's bad simply because of the fact that we don't even realize that it's harming us sometimes.
Like what? Like angry?
I mean, I guess like for example, if your habit is when you're stressed, you go stress eating, like you have this habit of eating junk food, or you have this habit of always being late.
Yeah.
These are habits.
Right,
You've gotten
right.
used to it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, especially in our culture.
yes,
Late is like 15 minutes is normal.
it's acceptable apparently.
Acceptable, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And the concept, of, well, how are you supposed to then make sure that you build healthy habits or positive habits?
Positive habits, yeah. And it takes like the whole life cycle. I mean, you need some habits for your physical being. You need some good habits for your spiritual being. You need good habits for your relationships, good habits for work, for the community. So I believe it's better to kind of, solicit feedback from others
Yeah.
and tell them, do you see that I have a bad habit? I know that I talk a lot, for example. So people tell me, don't, I realized a bit, so I kind of become silent sometimes, and exercise silence.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think you brought up a valid point that sometimes we really don't realize it unless someone brings it up.
Right.
And the thing is, even when someone brings it up sometimes, because it's such a normal habit for us, we will find a way to psychologically rationalize it, that this is normal, or this is fine, or this is me. Take it or leave it, that concept.
Right.
But one thing that I realized as well, and I was telling this to a group of my participants once in a training, and I was asking them, I said, why do you think it's so hard for people to go back to work after a long vacation?
Yeah, even school children, after 3 months holiday.
Any long
Yeah.
period away from a system that you used to or a
Right,
routine that you're
right,
used to,
yes.
you break that,
Yeah,
that becomes your new habit.
right,
So
absolutely.
it takes how long to build a habit? Between
They say 22 days. Some people, they say.
yeah, so between
There's some
17
different research.
exactly. So I
Some
would
people
say
even, they say 60 days.
yeah, so average from what we were researching
Right.
was it can take up to 14 days to 6 months,
Okay.
depending on the habit.
And the habit itself and how
Yeah.
much is ingrained in us.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there are habits that I see, for example, you know, I am, with a friend of mine in the car, and he is about to turn right or left. He doesn't signal.
Ah, yes.
And I say, why don't you signal? He says, no, but there is no car behind me or something like that.
habit.
It's a habit. And one guy said, nobody signals. If I signal, they will push me through or something. So it's
Interesting.
better to surprise people by poof,
Wow.
going onto them. So these are like habits that or throwing your garbage off the car.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You want to
littering.
keep your
Yeah.
car, you want to keep your car clean, but the streets dirty.
Absolutely.
And this is normal for them. And you see sometimes a father or a mother in front of their children. What will the children learn? That's learning a
They're
bad
learning
habit.
the habits. Absolutely. I mean, we mimic what we see as we grow up,
Absolutely.
right? And we mentioned this, like the most important development age for a child would be between the ages of 6 and 13. From this age,
Yeah. Or the first 7 years, actually. Because that's when they are sponge and they don't have any conscience. You just take. And whatever they see and hear and touch, it goes into their subconscious once they build their consciousness. In life, we walk, we sleep, we talk, we eat, we have friends, we have colleagues, we work. Sometimes we do all the things that we do out of habits. We get into the car, we reach our destination, we don't know what we saw on the road because it's out of a habit. So habits really making our lives. So we need to check what are the habits that we have and what are the habits that are limiting us from achieving what we want, or from developing our soul, from developing our physical being, from developing our knowledge and our self. We need to look at the habits that we have. And the best way is to solicit feedback from your loved ones, from the people around you, and ask them, do you see that I'm doing something that is not helping me and I can do it much better? Do I have bad habits? Please tell me, because only then you can identify those bad habits and work on them and replace them with good habits, habits that take you to the desired goal. So, when we know our habits and we can segregate the good habits from the bad habits and start working on the bad habits. The way to do it, it is not easy because we are used to doing it. It's going to be difficult in this first time. For example, I need to read at least a book a week. And I don't have that habit. Whenever I open a book, I tend to sleep. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to reward myself and trick my brain that, for example, like my colleague Oraib said, I will not have my cup of coffee unless I read 2 pages from that book. And in the first day, if you read 2 pages, the second day you read 3 pages, by the end of the week, you'd be reading 20 pages. And 20 pages over 20 pages, you'll get to the habit to read a book a week. And guess what? This habit will help you a lot because you will be reading almost 50 books a year. Guess what knowledge you will get from these 50 books? These knowledge will change your habits and make you better person, makes you better version of yourself, that you can serve your country and the people of your country and the world. So do your best to involve yourself in good habits and cultivating good habits and eliminating bad habits. It is doable. You can do it. Just put your mind in it and jump and start.
I think it's important when we're trying to think about habits and breaking them, building them, it comes up to a certain type of responsibility, right? Because we model these behaviors for kids and for the younger generations. But before we can take on that responsibility, we need to understand the impact of these habits on us ourselves. Like, you know, this book, James Clear, on Atomic Habits, he puts it beautifully. When you are trying to build a habit, try not to give yourself the mountain.
Yeah.
You know, take it one bit at a time.
Yeah, an alley and a little bit, you know, yes. So chunking kind of a thing.
Exactly, into bite-sized pieces. Because
So it doesn't overwhelm you or anything.
Exactly.
Where do I start?
exactly.
So making that baby steps helps you
Yeah.
change any habit, huh?
Because most of the time, what people will do when they're trying to break a habit, so let's say they're trying to get a healthier lifestyle.
All right.
They want to eat healthier, they want to drink more water, they want to go to
They
the gym.
register in some membership.
They'll
They bring
register,
food, yeah.
they'll register for a full year
Yeah.
after they've stopped going to the gym for a while and end up not going.
Yeah. Because what is pulling them back from not going?
The commitment.
Yeah.
It's such a big commitment from the very start.
And
for-
because they are not used to it, they're
Yes.
changing their habit. They're changing their routine.
Yes. So remember,
Their
there's a
routines.
routine that happens that makes you comfortable. But
That's the comfort zone.
the comfort zone, again, it goes back always to the comfort zone. Your routine has now become comfortable. So now you're breaking yourself out of it. Your body's going to resist.
Absolutely.
So
Until the time that you do it and do it and do it until your
Yes.
body gets used to it, and then you can do it as a habit.
yeah, because now that becomes your new comfort zone. And then you get to push through that and you push through that. This is how we develop.
How about visualization? What does it play?
I would say
Does it help?
it would help.
Yeah.
It would help if you can see it
Yeah.
into the future. In
It's like
terms of,
you built a new identity for
there
yourself,
we go.
the healthy identity,
Yes.
and then you visualize yourself as
As
if
that person.
you have.
You show up as
achieved,
that
yeah,
person.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then you trick your brain, kind of.
Yeah. So we call this the brain hack.
Yes.
Right? So if you're trying to actually achieve a goal that might seem scary for you at first, it's new.
Right.
You trick yourself by giving yourself a reward. When we're setting our habits and when we are hearing the word habits, we often feel a twinge of nervousness and fear. And the reason for that is very simple. When we think about building habits or breaking them, we're basically thinking of how to resist ourselves and what makes us more comfortable, our comfort zones. It always goes back to that comfort zone, that pesky comfort zone that we've talked about. The best way to approach this is as the same that's been said in the book, James Clear, Atomic Habits. If you read this book, you can actually take a look at how you can build mini and small habits that can add up to something that is an ultimate goal. So when you're thinking in terms of how do I break my current habit or how do I build an effective habit, think in terms of the following: rewards and consequences. What reward are you getting when you set up a habit or a goal? What consequences are you getting for having this negative habit or setting this negative goal? So when we have certain types of habits, we need to take a look at that. Sometimes we don't always have something that is positive that we can actually look up to. So we can always refer back to one thing. When we're setting a habit, take a look at the immediate results and the rewards, also the consequences. With that said, you will not always see an instant reward. So you need to find a way to trick yourself into continuing a habit or breaking it.
Habit is a very interesting thing, huh?
It is.
And anybody can cultivate good habits.
Everyone.
Everyone.
It's not select few. It's not made for special people.
You can
But then-
train yourself. You can learn
Exactly.
it.
But here's the thing: people will always say, "No, this person has great habits because they're, they're more disciplined, they're better, they're smarter,
They
they're
wake
they're
up
there."
early
wake
in the
up
morning,
earlier.
5 a.m.
But they don't realize these people pushed past their comfort zone and pushed themselves towards it.
So they don't see the iceberg
Exactly.
below.
Precisely.
All the efforts that has been there to get
Exactly.
them to that
To make it
habit.
look easy. To actually make it look
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. It's like in the presentation skills, right?
Exactly. Where
Like-
people will look at you and say, "Oh, you have it easy. You don't
Yeah,
have a fear of
yeah,
public
yeah.
speaking," but
But the rehearsing and the
rehearsing.
practice and
they still feel nervous when they
course.
present. So this is
it's
normal.
normal.
Yeah.
And they understand it's normal.
Yes.
So they prepare for it.
Precisely. And
Awesome.
like the whole brain hack that we were talking about, one of the tips that they were mentioning is just the reason why it's so difficult to build a new habit or break a habit is because of the reward or consequence you're getting from that specific habit. So you might be getting rewarded, right? If you
Right.
don't go to the gym, like you're comfortable,
Right.
you
You're
have
watching
your junk,
Netflix.
you're watching Netflix, you got your junk food. But other people, for example, they have a consequence as well if they do a habit. Like if I do this habit, there's a consequence. If I do this habit, there's a reward.
Right.
That makes you cling to the habit or avoid it.
So you have to look at both the benefits and the
Absolutely. But the thing is, we are instant gratification human beings.
and
If-
that's a habit by itself.
And that is a habit by itself. If we do not see instant reward, we don't feel the incentive to keep going.
So delaying gratification.
Delayed
helps.
gratification.
That helps.
Another thing would be if you are someone incapable, for example, to delay gratification is to trick your brain by giving yourself an immediate reward when you do the habit you're trying to build.
Give me an example.
So one example would be, trying to go to the gym, for
Right.
example. You can't seem to get up and go and do it, even though you have the time, the capacity, and everything. You give yourself a reward. It could be something very small, it could be something big. I think for me personally, it was if you want to go to the gym, if you want your coffee in the morning, go to the gym, then you have your coffee.
So you don't have the coffee until you go to
So
the
you
gym.
delay the reward that you really want and you do the thing to get yourself to go.
That's a good example. I like that. So if I want to go run every day, I have to give myself watching my favorite movie, for example.
Perhaps, exactly. An incentive, something
Yeah.
that makes you
Or
motivated.
going to the farm in the weekend.
There we go.
In order for me to go to the farm in the weekend, I must run for 5 days.
Yes. Exactly.
That's logical, actually. So it makes sense now that I think about it. And there is an experiment they did for children in 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
The marshmallow challenge, they
Ah,
call
yes, the marshmallow
it.
challenge.
They gave them a marshmallow, and they told them if you wait for 6 minutes or 5 minutes, you'll get a second marshmallow. And kids, I think kids with marshmallow, there's something,
That's
you know,
not
attraction.
Sugar.
Yeah,
It's sugar.
sugar, yeah, sugar rush. So some of the kids were able to wait for 5
Yes.
minutes to get the second reward.
Correct.
Some couldn't.
No.
Some just, you know, grabbed
Went
it.
for it.
Yeah, yeah, and said, well, I don't get it. I want this one. No.
Yeah.
Some of them took little bit and tried to hide it.
Yeah, we do interesting things.
Yes. So really, and then they look at them after they grown up as adults.
Yeah.
They saw those who delayed gratification.
Yes.
They were more successful. They were way ahead
Yeah.
of the other kids because they are disciplined enough to delay the gratification and do the hard work that they have to do, or the habits that they are supposed to do, like reading or doing the homework before you go to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just described exactly what discipline is.
Mhm.
The process of being able to
Yeah.
delay gratification.
It's very important. I remember when we were kids, you know, finishing school, you know, toward the weekend,
Yeah,
we want to play immediately.
absolutely.
And then toward like in high school, I started thinking, come on, I always, you know, go play. And then comes, for example, Saturday, tomorrow is work.
Yeah,
I'm like stressed and I'm like doing all the homework that I do. But then when you are on the flow on Thursday, you continue doing the homework, you'd be far better enjoying the weekend
yeah,
and relaxing on Saturday because you did the homework.
absolutely.
Because sometimes even, you know, there are kids, you see a kid who is really studying and really focusing on the school and the exam for tomorrow.
Yeah,
And you see another kid who's playing tomorrow their exam. They're playing. And then you see, oh, this guy's gonna ace it. This guy's gonna maybe, if he's lucky, he's gonna get a D or a C.
yeah,
But then comes the result. The guy who was playing, he gets an A. And the guy who was studying gets a lower mark. Why? Because this guy has studied before.
exactly.
So that's why he's playing before the
Precisely.
exam.
So then that comes into the terms of, okay, what's more worth it? What's valuable? So again, consequences, reward. I hope you can take a look at your habits the next time you think in terms of what is more positive and what is negative, how you perceive yourself and how you move forward. Sometimes it's not so easy because they're habits. We're so used to them. But don't let your comfort zones fool you. Think in terms of how you can make better choices and even try the brain hack technique we were talking about to give yourself instant rewards so that you can actually change your habits to the better.